Welcome back for an addendum to part 12 of the Penny Family History slideshow. This addendum features a recording taken of Jock before he died. So what you're about to hear is a reel-to-reel tape recording made by Mal of Allan asking Jock various questions about his early days in Scotland. It was done up at Wilcox Lake in 1958, just a few years before he died. So we took that recording. It was moved to cassette tape by my cousin Stuart, and we recently rediscovered it, and I digitized it and cleaned it up to the best I could. So we'll let that run. It runs about an hour and a half. You might have to listen to it more than once because of the broad Scottish brogues to get that into your ear, but I'll just let it go and enjoy.
He was wartime premier because I can remember, and if he was in the government paid, you were payments. It didn't come out of your army pay, and it didn't matter what organisation he was in, or fellas, gardeners, or shepherds, or lodge or anything, but you had, it was a compulsory, you had to join some lodge, and
I think you were a free gardener,
yes, sure.
That's
And well, if you was in the army, and if he was admitted to hospital for anything, you got your sick benefit, over and above your army pay. You got no army pay when you're in the hospital, but you got your sick benefit checks every week. It was a blessing to a soldier, Well, I was going to revert back to this Patterson. He fell so far in arrears that the government seized one of his cows, a white cow, it was taken at Aberdeen. And it was auctioned off, And, well, I don't know if the cow drew more money than actually was all or what, but the man had bought the cow. Man, he publicized the cow, and put her up for show, and the Taraku, bet the government and all that, and that cow drew 3 times the price of her, and people coming to see it paid maybe 2 or 3 to go and see the cow, the Taraku.
Oh, that was a famous
Taraku.
Oh,
And,
I never knew the origin of that.
well, eventually, Patterson got back his cow. The cow paid his debts, and he got it back. The cow was seized to pay his payments for his national health.
There was so much publicity about this cow that they called it the Taraku. And it was in the papers for weeks and weeks and months and months. And
She travelled around, exhibiting herself all over the country.
It was quite a famous cow, the Taraku.
Well, the Taraku paid all Patterson's debt, and he got his cow back.
I remember when you worked at Pataudry, when they rushed you into hospital, that was free, your operation, wasn't it? In the Aberdeen Infirmary?
Yeah. Well, it didn't cost you anything, Operation. All it cost me was my train fare to Aberdeen and home again. Of course, if you wanted to give a grant, they would accept it, you see.
Well, didn't they take a penny or something? A penny a week?
He was working at
or 2 a week or something.
When he was working in the railway shops there, a penny a week. Mm-hmm. And there was sometimes, maybe once in a 3 months or so in the church, a special collection for the infirmary, And lots of industries, all kind. I always had an infirmary collection day, Even the lifeboat used to have a lifeboat procession. And mine one procession to San Aberdeen once for a lifeboat. And they had some of the lifeboat crews and great long stilts, with 15 or 16 feet long. And they were as long as they could walk on the sidewalk and drop at the second floor windows and get the collection from the lady of the house. And what way they go down and up on one of that things, I don't know. But they were as steady as a rock when they were up on the top of them there, you know. There's a bit, there was a step that his foot got onto, and then there was a strap or two got around his leg here. Oh, they walked around the same. You see, they have them down in the south of England there for going up and tying up hooks on the top of the long poles and picking the hooks. And sometimes when the ground's pretty wet, you know, the blooming stilt goes down. Some of them puts on a board at the bottom to keep them from sinking.
Well, we in Scotland, I think, pioneered that accident and sickness welfare, because I remember just as far back as I can remember. 1911, 12, 13, they had it. And it was,
just about that time it came in.
It was contributory. There was no forced contribution then, I don't think. It was only voluntary contributions.
Oh, no. My gee, no, you had to
was it back then, too?
Oh, yes, it was compulsory. You got a certain time to bend to a lodge of some kind, you know.
But you got a lot more out of it than you ever paid into it, I think.
Oh, mighty, yes, sure. Well, if a man was unlucky to get accidents or ill health or anything, there was no limit to what he could get out of it, you know. Now it's even extended further since the Labour government was in, you know.
And now, seeing it's Easter Sunday, Dad, do you think you can tell us about the preacher who was run out of his congregation at one time, and he started up what we call the church in the Heather?
Oh, and the Heather Kirk, as we called it. Oh, that was Mr. Johnston, but don't you call him Mr. Johnston, it was just Geordie Johnston we got, you know. And he would have soon rebuked you if you'd called him Mr. Johnston. He's a bit of a comic too, and there was she was well-to-do lady, you know, what they called the Buccaneers. And there was more than him but tied up with her, you know. With him being a minister, man, gee, some of the more hot-headed religionist guys there, they put him out of the church. And he went a while in different towns where they were selling livestock bouncing, you know. Maybe a livestock sale on a Monday. And next town again, being on a Saturday or thereabout, you see. Well, he got it all on a Sunday, you see, and he changed his services. And he stood in the auctioneer's box for a pulpit. And he preached from there, you know, until, the people got their heads together, especially the working class, anyway. The aristocracy, as you would say, them, they were a bit high-headed. They wouldn't recognize Geordie, you know, and Geordie never hid it anyway. However, they put their heads together, they would build a kirk of their own. Oh, God, everybody from miles around come with spades and barrows. And I was helping there, carrying maybe a couple of swords, you know. They weren't very heavy, the heather swords, you know. And it was all built to walls, solid swords. And the seats across was a little wall about 18 or 20 inches high. And if you went to sit on the heather, you could sit, and if you wanted to bring a coat or take off your old jacket and lay it down and sit down on it, you know, above the heather. But that was all the seats that they had.
Did you have a roof over your head?
Oh, yes. And the position that the little kirk was built on, the hill had a long slope to it, you know. And the road would have been about 100 yards down, farther down the slope than the church. And about August, when the heather was in bloom, and the smell, man, when you get into that church, you smell of the heather, you know. Oh, God, it was delicious. Well, when you looked up the face of the hill, you didn't see the kirk. Because it blended in with the hill, you see. The roof they had there, and the roof was all in
And a
bloom.
roof too, and it was blooming too.
And the walls was all in bloom, you know.
Quite a picturesque church.
Oh, boy, there was pictures, God's sake. I don't know how many painters had painted yon little kirk, you know, that way, you know. And he was a great work, and he'd be maybe driving along a road in his old gig, you know, and wheels squeaking in winter grease. And maybe a man would have been plowing at the roadside. He would stop and leave the horse graze at the roadside, and he'd take the lines from the man, and he would go around with the plow, you know. And he says, "No, laddie," he says, "I've come to see you the day, you know, you'll be to see me on Sunday." There's a farmer's daughter just next farm to us. She was getting married, and it was away well over in the fall of the year, about December, I guess it would have been. And Geordie, he was, well, the mother said he was an hour late anyway when he arrived. And Geordie, he made the excuse, you know, it's half an actor. Rain, dubs, that's mud, you know. Rain and dubs, he says. But he says, we're here, and he says, let's get on, you know. He liked to drink, you know, and he couldn't go home until he had a good bucket on, you see, and to get on, you know. Gee, the bride, she come along, and she just flew right at him, you know. You're an hour and a half late, Geordie Johnson. Oh, well. But Mary, he says, with the look of things here, he says, I'm 6 minutes hour late. That shut her up good. Then the proceedings wasn't getting on fast enough, you know. He would, but then, you know, he says, we need to get on, you know, get home, you know. The night's getting on, you know. Well, there was one minister I took up Geordie's part, and I can always remember another the words that he said about him. If a man sinned once, that wasn't to say that he would remain a sinner. You see? But you're classifying as Johnston as a perpetual sinner, you know. And he got him the assembly, I kind of repented. I thought it had been pretty hard on him. And by they installed him in the biggest church in Aberdeen, John Knox Church. The crowds that were standing away there every Sunday. And still he even rebuked him for coming, you know. He said when he was preaching, he always dropped a few broad words, you know. He couldn't keep them out. You know. There's some of you comes to kirk, he says, he says, you've something you own. You want your neighbours to see it. Some of you comes to kirk, he says, to hear, well, say maybe a certain preacher. This was a hint at them, you know. And he says, there's few of you, he says, comes to the church for the sake of the word of God. He says, would I stand a poor show, he says, if he was going to have an examination of faith? I was amazed at the way he spoke to him, you know. But he says,
people used to come for miles to.
Oh, gee, yes. I bicycled there. It was about 19 or 20 miles, wouldn't it been, wouldn't it? And I sat down at the roadside, a hot, musty kind of a day, and I wondered if I'd go or not. Jumped on again after I got a bit cooled off and had another breath. And before I come to another howler. And my gee, when I did get, and I very near didn't get in at all, but I did get into the church. And my God, I thought when he said his text, you know, and he was seeing inside of me, and his text was never held between two opinions. And I think, you son of a gun, you must have been reading inside me. If I'd had another change, I must have been here at all.
Tell us about those two characters that used to live in Aberdeen. I think one of them, I think you call him Blind Bob. I think he sold newspapers, didn't he? In the
oh, yes. He sat at the castle gate every day. And And I bet you that it didn't matter what item was in the paper, Bob could argue and he knew every pint of it. And he would say, well, Bob, anything new in the papers tonight? And I'd say, oh, no, I haven't had time to have a look at them yet. He was blind, you know, he couldn't see a thing, he couldn't see a paper, but he said, he hasn't had time to have a look at them.
Well, even though he was blind, he's an ears, and he knew more, I think, than any other man had ever been.
He could walk up and down that street there. Look at that man, that blind fella that was lived beside us in Inverurie, cousins. That guy, I've seen him come out of this pew in the middle of the church, you know, and when the choir was ready for a sing, he was organist, you know. He would come right out and walk right up to the organ and sit down there and nobody near him. And at the back of the house there, we had our gardens, you know, and you mind there was a stone wall come down outside your garden to the edge of Wordy's yard. And across his yard was a Banksayuri public house. Mm-hmm. Well, if cousins went out at the front door of his house, and down the street the wife could see him as he going to the pub. But he slept out at the back door and get down, and my garden lay between the walk and the wall. And he knew how to have maybe a little walk was going up among the vegetables, you know. And he knew when he come to that little walks, man, he could walk and go over to this wall and jump the wall and cross the yard and jump into the wall and into the pub. Then he could come back the same way. And he always got the same spot, the same walk to come back on as he did. I've watched him many a time. And I mind Mrs. Cousins was away on a holiday or something once, and she got mother to look after him, you know, make his food for him and everything, and she got one awful scare one night, and or just in the morning, I forget now. It could have been the morning, surely, because she got in with some food for him. And he was lying in the dark, you know, and he was reading the papers. Thank God she got an awful scare. She come to the house there and all shaking again. And he got a newspaper and this, what is it called, Braille. He would sit and read with his hands, you know. There's a fella in Sunnybrook here a year ago when I was there, and he could hear him through the night reading.
I always remember my fondest recollections in Aberdeen was in the New Market, isn't it, you call it?
Oh, yes.
Where all the fish was down below, and
you could get everything in the New Market.
The restaurants were up on the second floor, and up on the third floor, hardware, and everything you could buy.
Up on the third floor
was a huge place, if I remember right.
Was a kind of the gallery, and all the displays was set out on the gallery, you know, and you walk past the front of them. And below the gallery, down below, it was all butcher shops, you mind? All around the whole place. And right in the center of everything, it was groceries and fruit, vegetables. There was an old lady there, she sold this American nippy cheese. And you never need to ask where she was, just stand up and give a sniff, you could smell her over the whole length of the market. And when you went to the far end, there's a big open stairway, went down the stair into the fish market. Mind you, when you went to the top of that stair, oh man, you'd stand there and your teeth was watering again. You know, the smell coming up, the cod raw, you know, all boiled and steaming hot, and the yellow haddocks just new out of the kettle.
Smokies?
Plenty of the guys used to go and buy a bunch of haddocks, little haddocks, about, not much bigger than your hand, 3 in a bunch, and they were tied with a green rash, do you mind? I used to go and buy a bunch and go over to the pub and have their beer and eat the haddocks.
Well, the smokies would be hot too.
Oh, yes, they were hot.
I always remember those bleedy jimmies and the millie jimmies. They were boiled up and they were boiling. They'd make a nice
oh, yes,
smell, I think.
A bleedy pudding. I was minding Alex, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but he come home and leave from France, and I was up at Keith at the time, and with Doctor there, the Dr. Fowler, he said to me, well, when your boy comes, he says, be sure and bring him down, and the wife wanted to see him. And he says, I want to see him too. And so when Alec come, I took him down to the doctor's house, and his hospitality, you know, actually the wife was handing tumblers of whiskey like a tumbler of beer, just. And Sandy, he kept drinking at it, you know, and on the way back to my lodgings, he got sick. Thank God the lovers remember this. He started to puke, and there's a whole mealing to make him up. You'd have thought the skin was on it, even. It'd come up about that and right out of his mouth and fell down there, and no skin on it. He had it all chowed, but it come up like that. I was reminded of that. Oh, he says, I eat 3-4 of them, he says, on the way up here. Mr. White, I think they call him.
Oh, yes, the man, when he used to have these games at Hutter House.
Yeah.
And, I remember, I think it was way back about 1910 or 11.
I forget.
I think that was about when the man came along with the first airplane.
Yeah. And I went out in the station there with a wagon from the home farm and brought the wings folded back just and brought it home. And they had no landing field or any field to start up on, you know. They had a wire tied to the tail of the plane, and that was fastened to a tree or something. And they put the propeller in motion, you know. And when the propeller got to a certain speed, you know, it broke this wire, and the plane just went up like that, you know. And my God, it was very near a serious accident among all the crowd. And for a flying lookout, a flying bag, you know, a wind gauge, whatever it is, he hit it at the top of the tallest tree there. And some guy went up and put a empty lemonade bottle into the bag. And held the bag down, you know, and he thought it was all right to fly, you know. The bag was there was no strong winds or nothing, and that, thank God, when he got up, boy, he got right into the wind there. And so when he didn't come right down in the field amongst thousands of people there, you know. But he got back safely, and they went to examine the bag. They thought there was something wrong, and here was a lemonade bottle. Some devil had gone up and put it under the bag, you know.
I always remember those gatherings, those big farmer chaps used to, in the games part of it.
Oh, yes,
Tossing the cable and tossing the hammer.
Stupid like things to see them working at them. Great, big, husky men, and just a pole like a hydro pole here. And they didn't take the heavy end, didn't go to the top, you know. The heavy end was in your hand. And that was all caused more strength, you know. And you got a rest, you know, there's a certain stance that you had, and you could run as far as you like, you know, with the pole, you know, to get speed up. Then when you come to your distance, you had to tip it over, you know, and run to the side, because sometimes it didn't go over, it came right back again.
I remember right, to make it count, it had to fall over straight, didn't it?
Oh, it had to go right over, you know. Oh, yes. Some of them could toss it as easy as you like. And Jimison, it used to work for me. Well, he was a great harness. Some of them at games, you know, he used to go and throw the hammer. And
heavy a hammer. That was a pretty heavy hammer.
Oh, some of them was 25 pound and 40 and 60 pound hammer. I forget the distances now. It was quite a knack in throwing it, you know. Now they throw it here with a flexible handle, a chain or a rope. They wouldn't have that over there, some wooden handle. Man, how they could double round their head like this, you know, with a hip. And they're allowed to turn. Some of your proper athletes, you know, in the kilt, they had a kilt on them, then when they're ready, you know, they would swing themselves down the last swing with it, you know. Run, let the hammer go.
I thought they were allowed more than one turn to that.
Oh, you could swing as much as you like, but
No,
not
but I mean turning themselves.
No, just one complete turn.
One turn.
You got one complete turn. Well, if you swung more than one turn, you lost speed on your hammer. But one turn gave you the necessary speed. And if you swung any oftener, you're slowing down your speed.
Yeah, we always used to have races.
Yeah.
Lots to eat.
Some of you were little girls dancers again. And instead of their dress here being cloth, you wouldn't have got your finger down for medals. Down to the very bottom of their dress. Yeah.
They're beautiful days in the summertime. Out in the field. Special field they use.
Oh, yeah.
With the trees all around it. I always used to like those games.
There was a great worthy there. Especially he was held, you know, in great esteem with the younger class of farm servants. But they got rough on him. Did you hear of him?
No, Rochanan.
Rochanan. And his brother had a hotel here at the Pine Orchard. And Jim met him once or twice. Well, George, he got drunk one at one of the games, you know, and he was lying at the edge of the field, and the young lord had to come and get him a bit kick, you know, and get him to get up and move away out of the road. George looks up and he says, "Oh, Julius." Go him, and he says, "I'll phone heaps with you any day you like." I'll phone heaps. He says, "Any day you like." Sure.
When we lived at Hudder House, I remember right, Lord and Lady Aberdeen used to come around.
Oh, yes. Oh, gee, yes. And then one day he come into the house, you know, and he's great worthy. Very humorous fella, you know.
He used to be Governor General in Canada here.
He was Governor General of India for a while.
And he was Viceroy of India.
Yeah, Viceroy of India. Well, he came in this day and he started giving the kids a imitation of a railway train, you know. And my God, some of them even looked around the corner and looked at the door. I actually thought, man, the train was coming in the door. And you could hear him whistling in there. You could hear the brakes and the train slowing down. Oh, he was tickled to death. And then he used to give Alec a shilling now and again. Do you mind there was two old, but you wouldn't mind. There was two old ladies living in a lodge down the walking bed below us. Miss Grana.
I don't remember.
Alec used to go down and carry water to them when they come out of school and chop a few bits of wood for them and so on, and it come to the notice of the lordies, we call them. Oh, the lordie would drop in and leave a shilling for Alec now and again, you know.
Now, coming into the eating business here, there's three famous Scotch dishes that the recipe, I think, got pretty well lost. You remember how they used to make how they used to make brose? How we used to make skelly?
I've lived on them 3 times a day for 6 months.
And how the women folk used to make sones?
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with the brose.
Well, you just got your bowl, and there was a general law, you know. If you was in a farm kitchen, you had to hold your bowl in your hand like this. You couldn't hold it this way with your thumb over the side. You got a crack over the thumb.
2 hands beneath the bowl.
One hand, and the other hand with your spoon to steer.
Oh, yeah.
And
with your sparkle?
Well, the handle of your spoon was your sparkle.
Oh.
And you put that, and I used to go about 4, 5 spoonfuls of dry meal, you know. And a little bit of salt. I used to like a bit of pepper in it too, you know. And then the kettle was boiling. Your milk had to sit out the night before, you know. And there's a great thick hot of cream. You could lift it up like a cloth off it, you know, for your brose.
Yeah.
You just took your knife around the edge of the bowl and plumped it to go. And well, you pour down your boiling water, and it was up to you whether you liked them thick or thin, you know.
Yeah.
I like them not too thick. Pour on your milk, and what you had left of your milk, you took a piece of just a dry oats, oat bread, you know, and you could eat your fill. We used to call that the packing, you know. That was.
But that had to be real boiling water, didn't it?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been anything but boiling water, you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen Jim and Alec and Jack too. Yeah, when I was at Tampa there. Mother used to have a big yellow bowl, great big bowl. She'd make a great bloody bowl, you know, and put in a splash of milk, and they were all around about the bowl. Sometimes they couldn't sup them all out the jar. Well, the meal was cheap, you know. I was getting, I got 3 bowls of meal a year. And a bowl of meal was 14 stone. And by gee, we never had to buy meal, but we eat it all. Between bacon and bread, you know, and porridge and brose. Oh, shut up.
The year supply of oatmeal, didn't it?
Oh, no, it held, it wouldn't have held you 6 months' meal, no. It would have held about half of it.
Well, gee, if I remember right, it used to hold a bag or two.
Oh, yes. Well, a bowl of meal's a bagful, you know.
When I mean a bag, that's a big 100-pound bag, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, and then there was a shelf in it, you know. You kept your bread there that you had baked, you know. And mind you, you could eat an awful bread. And mind, when the kids would come home from school, they would come right down, and I had a great big cask of a treacle for the cattle. Feeding the cattle with, you know. You melted it down and poured on the treacle when it was melted on them with their oats and stuff. What we
You call it black treacle, we'd call it molasses.
Yeah, well, they used to get through into the neep shed, as they used to call it, and get the neep hasher, you know. You'd slice a neep, and you'd go into the treacle barrel, and they would turn the plug, and the treacle would come out here, and they would spread it all over and away to their piece, you know. Slice a turnip and about an inch thick of treacle.
That was a good treat.
Oh, yes, sure.
Now, there's another famous old lost recipe. Remember how you used to make skelly?
Oh, yes, I've made it many a time.
Well, now, how do you make it? Do you know?
You get plenty of fat, and some people likes to make it with a skinny bit of suet. Mm-hmm. Because when you're cooking it, the fat's all rendered out, you see, out of it, and you've just the skin left, and that's cooked, you see, with the skelly, and sent to a kind of a bristly kind of a thing, you know. It's lovely eating, you know, and then when you're skelly, well, you put in a good chunk of it, and just very, very little water. And you maybe put in an onion or two, but don't cook your onions, just put them in for a few minutes. Slice them just, and let them plump in for a few minutes, and keep stirring it up. And boy, you get a plate full of peeling it potatoes and a big spoon or two of skelly.
Yes, but what did you use? How much oatmeal did you use in this?
Well, it depended on how much you was going to make.
Oh, yes.
In a little pot for your nose.
You put in enough to make it thick, or?
Say, 3, because it's a thing that you couldn't eat an awful lot of, you know.
It was pretty rich.
Oh, it was rich and it was strong, you know. And, say, 3 tablespoonfuls of the dry meal was pretty good. You just stirred it in.
Yeah, enough for about 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, stirred it in and And it'd go to kind of crispy the meal itself, you know.
It'd be a little brown, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, just a little, yeah. Because when it was made, you didn't think it was meal that you was eating, you know.
I think I'll have to have Phyllis try that recipe again. She made me scurly once, but it wasn't
It was more like
what I
porridge.
considered scurly should be.
It was more like porridge, was it?
I think so.
Ah, well, she'd use too much water.
Now,
And she get a good few bits of fat meat even, you know, to get plenty of fat out of it, and cut it small, and render it all first, you know, and then put on your meal and just stir it until you got it your thickness that you wanted.
well, I think the first time that she made scurly, she wasn't just the scurly conscious, I don't think. That's how the recipe turned out. No, there's, remember those drinks that we used to have? There used to be a special shop in every village. I think it sold sones.
Oh, sones, oh, yeah, drinking sones.
How is it you make sones? That's a peculiar, the west of Scotland.
Well, you go to the meal mill, you know, and when the oats is all ground, you get what you call the mealy sids. The meal's not taken out of the sids, you see, when you get it. When they got the mealy sids, but the meal's all ground, ready to take out. But you take the sids and all.
The sids are still in the meal.
Oh, yes. And you, get a crock like making a brew of beer or something, you know. In a big crock like that, and putting a splash of water in it, and a bowl or two of this sids, you know, and let it sit until it got sour. It was properly sour, you know. Then you put it all through keep stirring, put it through a screen, with muslin or something. And if you want to make drinking sowens, you made them thinner. And there's another sowen that you could make, you just pour it out like porridge, you know.
Oh, it was eaten sones.
Well, supping sowens as we used to call them. Why, gee, they were nice. Oh, God.
I can imagine.
Good milk and that, oh man, when you took a spoonful of that sowens, it just, when you get into your mouth, it just slid away of themselves. But I used to like a drink of them, a drinking sowen.
I'd imagine the flavour would be somewhere between
well, it had,
sauerkraut, I think.
it had an oatmeal kind of a taste, you know.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a bad taste, it. Oh, there's little shoppies there, an old lady maybe around the shoppy, and she would make sowens and put it head, and we call it, you know, head cheese and mealy jimmies, bleedy puddings, and all that sort of stuff, and you could get away a halfpenny, and you get a good bowl full of drinking sowens.
Well, she was the forerunner of the delicatessen, you see.
Oh, yeah. She would say, do you want syrup or sugar to your sowens? If you wanted sugar, you got it, and if no, she just dip it a spoon into a syrup jar and twined it until she got it, and then here you are, drink up your...
Well, there's an old Scottish legend. It may not be a legend either, but it was quite a controversy, and it's been a controversy for years and years. And I've always wondered which was the back of Benahee. Now, where we lived, we were supposed to live at the back of Benahee, but the other people away over to the south side of the mountain, they were supposed to live at the back of Benahee. In fact, on our side, we had quite a famous song at one time. We had a river called the Gardaí.
Yeah.
Used to run, I think,
run down the back of Benahee.
And it ran somewhat like I Wish I Were Where the Gardaí ran, back of Benahee. Now, which was the back of Benahee?
You know which side Money Musk was on?
Well, it was on the south side of the hill.
Opposite side for us. Well, that side of the mountain is perpendicular practically. You can't scale it even. And we used to go at the back because it was straight here, you know. And the Gardaí just runs down and comes out into the dawn. It comes down, it runs into the dawn about
Well, no, but the people in Money Musgrave say they were at the back. But then this famous song of ours, eulogizing the Gaddy.
Was at the back of Benahee.
It ran at the back of Benahee too, so there must have been two backs in Benahee.
Well, where the Gaddy run, that was what we generally called the back of Benahee, because that was a straight side, you know.
No, but we lived on the side that the Gaddy was on.
The Gaddy come round, but it come round the straight side first.
Oh.
Come round our side and get down and down at Owen.
Oh,
that's your clear things up.
Well, that was clear. And then the Gaddy ran around both sides.
Yeah, sure, it ran around both sides.
Well, I guess there'd be no controversy there.
And this was an old fella, I forget his name now. And he was a mason. He had a small croft, the furthest up the hill. You mind where Johnny Cole was? Well, he was away on the other side of the hill with him. And that guy used to make an awful whiskey. Every year his little croft grew nothing but barley. And he thrashed it with a flail, you know. And when he was making whiskey, old Sandy would never put on a still until there was a cap in the hill. Mind how often there used to be a bonnet on it?
There's always just a cloud. It used to stick on the point on the top of the hill.
It used to stick in the pint. Well, Sandy had the still going hell hole, you know. And he had stovepipes like this. Partly this, and some bits of it was drained tiles, you know. And it would right up him with the heather, you know. And when he had his still on, anybody in the surrounding country couldn't see smoke, you know, and nothing. And he would sit out, and there's one day, and the excise officer caught him on the way down to Pitcaple Station with a little keg in his back, you know. And Sandy, he developed an awful cough all at once. And oh man, he says, just give me one mouthful, he says, and you can do with me what you like. Well, the exciseman shouldn't have done it, you know. He should have been a little wise of it. He handed Sandy the keg to take a mouthful out of the keg, and he felt his mouth, you know, and one sploot and he gauged his eyes, and he picked up his keg and beat it, and they never got him. It was no use coming to arrest him again, because you've got to catch a man with the goods, you know. Oh, Sandy made quite a living selling whiskey.
Well, that's about all they could grow up where he lived.
Oh, God, yes.
I remember those little pine trees. They were about 10 and 12 feet high, and they'd be years and years and years old, yes. You know. That's all the height they would ever go.
Stinted growth, you know, and rock, just,
Well, would that whiskey be comparable to good Scotch whiskey?
Oh, every bit. Good Lord.
Well, it'd be quite a bit stronger, I believe, than the
it would have been, I guess, He got a ready sale for it, you know. But that's how he cheated to get the Dodger, as we called him.
You remember the stranger that used to come around in the north of Scotland? Remember them, the men with the onions with a big...
oh, yes, that was
they used to carry onions in a long pole, used to have big...
A blue beret.
Used to have a blue beret, big earrings in their ears. Remember the tinkers that used
to... over the shoulder, the onions all strung on it, you know. Stringing onions, they used to call them.
Well, did they come in? How did they come in?
Oh, the ship. They come in. A ship come into the harbour and play in the harbour until they sold the cargo.
Oh, and these people just walked around the country?
Yeah, carried it around the country, you know, for miles. You only got a steady sale of it. But no, the onions were made in a double row. Down like this. You know, they got a string outlet, you know. And they were hung on a stick. The stick was over the shoulder. How would they sell
those onions? We used to grow good onions in
sure.
our gardens. It must have been a special time of year or something, I guess.
No, it's a special brand.
Oh, the special brand. Spanish onions, I think they were.
They start the seed to the early spring, you know, and they're transplanted. And before they're transplanted, and maybe about that height, some of them has a thing like a horse clippers for clipping your hair with. You know, take it and you'll clip a potato off the top of them, you know. Then they're all transplanted, 4 to 5 inches apart. And that's where you get your big onions, you know. Well, like a Mitchell Heburn's onion farm where he had a machine for planting them. That was quite an intricate thing, that, you know. You get a machine to plant onions. Oh, I've had them here, that size.
I remember those other strangers that used to come around with what some people call the tinkers, what we used to call, what we call the gypsies. Well, I guess they were gypsies too.
Them in the caravans.
When I was a young fella, I always used to be scared of those gypsies. They were so kind of fierce looking. And,
but they were quite harmful. I never had any harm to them. No, I never had any row.
They had some quite elaborate caravans, didn't they?
Oh, man. And all their goods was hung on the outside of it. All the pots and pans and everything was hanging all around the caravan, their home, you know.
Didn't they sell and trade horses too?
Oh, yes. And I mind one farmer aside in Brewery. He had a spotted grey, you know what I mean? And a brown, and he was never pleased with him. And this farmer, he had a brown to match him, you know. So he would make a deal. And there was a bit extra to pay over. A few pounds, I don't know how much it was, but there's a good few pounds extra to pay over, you know. My gee, this fella paid him in coppers. Pelters of them. But the best ones for the coppers was John, what was the guy, John German, the guys, the German gypsies. They didn't sell nothing, they just traveled the country.
Oh, yes, they were tourists.
It was generally believed that they were German tourists, you know, just spying out roads and everything. And mine, King Edward, at the time that I was a volunteer in Aberdeen. The King Edward came, that was the old king, you know.
King Edward the 7th?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. No, King Edward the 6th.
7th?
Oh, no, the 7th, yeah. He come to open Marshall College. The volunteers was all called out. And along with them and foot soldiers was in Castle Hill Barracks. And we was well paid because we lost 2 days work. We lost a day very near collecting them and driving them out to Scotstoun Moor. And then we surrounded the moor and kept them at the moor until the King Edward went away again. And mine when they were in Scotstoun Moor, there used to be a man in old Aberdeen. He used to buy up all dead animals from farms, you know, cattle and horses and everything, you know. And just to take a dead animal off your hand, he would come for it, you know. Or if they had to kill it, they would charge you for killing him, you know. And sling him on their cart and to Aberdeen or all, and dog food and fertilizer, you know, and all this. And well, they had a kid died the time that they confined to the moor. And they went at one of the officers there to get in touch with Charlie Napier. This was the fellow who bought all the dead animals to come for the kid. Didn't believe in burying it. And some of them, when they come off the ship in Aberdeen, you know, the women folk along this wore this long skirts and they were sprung out, you know, hoop kind of things. And it was nothing for some of them to have a kid hidden below their skirt, you know, walking there. And some of them used to have a stick, and they would stand on the edge of the gangway, you know, in a crook of the stick, and they would lift up the skirt, you know, to see if there was any kid below it. So they smuggled quite a few of them off that way.
There's always something that I wanted you to tell me about was in the fishing business. I always wondered how you did it. Remember when you used to fish with your feet?
Oh, that was catching flukes.
Flukes, was it? Oh, that was it. What are those flukes? Like?
That's a fluke, look, just the shape of your hand.
Is he a flat?
Not much thicker.
Flat fish?
Yeah. In his back, it's identical same as the floor of the ocean, the sand.
Oh, yeah.
But then below, he's white. And if you was looking for him, you would never take him unless he moved.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to, a poor punch,
Did they live in the shallow water or something?
Oh, you come in shallow water, especially when the tide was out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Just before the tide started to come in.
Oh, yeah.
You could get them, and you go out, and your bare feet and shuffle, and when you felt a fin, they tickle your feet, They've a little fin at the back, and when they wiggle like this, it tickles your feet. Some of the guys, couldn't stick it, they would jump up at the lost their fluke, and just put your hand down like this, and you got a hold of the fluke, and put them in your bag.
Were they good eating?
Oh, splendid eating. They're just the same as halibut.
Oh, yeah. Like a...
And there's no insides. When you take off the head, they're just a little bit like that. And it comes right out for the head.
Oh, yeah. And
all down here is flesh, and it's just the one big bone. You could comb your hair with it. Like a comb, just. They're just, they're practically a halibut, but they're a smaller species.
They'd be nice, just caught fresh and fresh.
Oh, they're lovely eating, man. Oh, God's sake. Mm-hmm. I've seen us get only a line and maybe a half dozen hooks on and a few fresh herring. You bedded your herring with your hooks with herring, and you dug a hole in the sand first, back from the water, but you hit them down to the water's level. Oh, yeah. At the mouth of the river down. And whatever fish you took, you just plumped them in this pond that you had,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen me have 20 or 30 of them.
Do they grow very big?
No.
Oh, well, bigger than my hand. But that's about the average size, just that size, Oh, they're lovely eating. And you can start to them, and they've a little fin comes up the sides, like this. And when they're cooked, you can take a hit of that fin like that, and you can just pull out the bones, comes right out, and you start cleaning, and you just leave the comb of the main bone all the way up.
Do you remember the time that the whale come up the ice, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, the D.
Oh, it was a D.
It was a D.
He got stuck.
He stuck him. I guess he changed his mind. Or he was going scarce of water, and the tide was going back, Side the Victoria Bridge there. Yeah. And he turned to get back, but he stuck. Both ends had dry land. After he got about an hour of the sun, his back dried up a bit, and his sliminess was off. Mm-hmm. Oh, the kids used to fly across the D in his back. Took 2 steam engines to haul him out. Mm-hmm. And my God, they cut it to that brute for 2 or 3 days and hauled it away over to a manure place over at Torrey.
He kind of smelled, wouldn't he?
Oh, stink, high heaven, no. Oh, yeah.
I guess they come up the river, I think, they chase the small fish.
Oh, yes, But this one come too far.
He came too far up the river.
I made once in a couple of seals got right into the harbour, very near the foot of Market Street. Mm-hmm. And there was a buoy in the middle of the basin, you could anchor a ship to. And a little devil, if never a fella made for this buoy with a boat, it plumped into the water, And, the fella maybe would have gone away a bit. And you look around again, here's the 2 of them back onto the buoy again, sitting sunning themselves. You never saw them swimming.
It's not often you get seals that far.
So. No. Both the wheels is the same. And they're practically the size of a farmer's buggy. The same make of a wheel and everything. There's no come on the wheels, as you would say, they're straight. Iron rings.
Oh, yeah.
Would you ask him what he...
cut it back.
No, I can edit it, but you ask him about this first, and then he can continue.
Well, we bought this.
You had a You had quite an amusing experience at one time, I think, when you worked on the farm about the old bone shaker days.
We bought it.
In your younger days, I think.
We bought it from an old farmer. Oh, I think it was only a few shillings for it, you know.
Of course, a bone shaker, by the way, was a forerunner of the modern bicycle.
Well, that was a bone shaker. And we had a blacksmith on the farm, you know. And he says, after we got her home, she had a steel spring about 4 inches broad and I would say very near a quarter of an inch thick steel, you know. And it come from the front wheel, blown with an eye like this, and away back, doubled onto the hind wheel again, you know. It had all kind of spring on it, you know. Well, that smith, he put on the 2 seats. One of that spring, you know. Mm-hmm. And he made things for your feet that you could rest your feet on and a handlebar to hang on to it. And we used to ride 3 and 4 of us on. Just across from the farm, there's a field where it's a nice, gentle slope. This way from the farm and this way too, you know. So at night we used to, after supper, we would all go up. There's about 9 or 10 of us all hired men there, you know. We would go out there and who's going first? So when you went, you had to push the bike up, you know. Pulled her away up to the top to the edge of the wood and down you come. It's coming that way and it's coming this way too, you know. The hell was falling ways. And then you kind of turn to come back with another fall of the hell again and come out of the gate onto the road, you know. So it came over turn one night and it was getting dark. And the hell easy they would, whenever we thought it was getting down here, just to give a shout, they would strike matches and let you see where the gate was. I says, all right then. We're coming flying down. Now the dam was in this field. And there was nothing fencing it off or nothing, you know. And I was at the steering wheel in the front seat and I could see the lights, you know. And made right in between them and looking right into the dam. Bone shaker and 4 of us.
Those were the days.
We couldn't get the bone shaker out that night, but it was too dark. And Lord, we got a fair soaking, boy. We chased that guards around the farm to throw them in the dam too, but we never got a 100 until it was, I kind of died down then, you know.
Yes. Remember in the old bothy days, remember when you had too many herring to eat one night?
Oh, well, that was the same place, the same farm. And a guy come around selling herring and the bothy he went in at, there was 5, there was 9, 10 of us in the bothy, you know. And all the food that we got off the farmer was your meal and your milk.
Oh, you had to buy all the rest, eh?
But he would give you money for your meal that you didn't need, you know. See? So we're all sitting here and there's a stair went up. There's a sleeping place for a few men up the stair. And you get to the top and you went to the other side and you get across a loft above a stable. There was those holes that you put the hay down into, you know, for the horses. So there's 2 or 3 of us went up the stair, you know, and he juked away out quietly and way up the stair and down those holes and out to his cart that was standing in the yard. And they were bartering with a guy, you know, about his hair and you see, trying to screw him down a bit for money, but all about a 2pence or 3pence a dozen anyway.
They're all fresh herring too.
Oh yes, and if we got in, we got a 100 bag and we took every blooming herring out of the cart. Back up and I laughed and we left the bag in the herring and I laughed and edged into the bothy slyly and we joined in the argument about his herring and we would buy some. So away we went out, you know, and he handed over the cart and he lifted the lid of his herring box to sell and oh my God, he hadn't a herring. And he blamed us for stealing it, you know. And, no, that's what they do. We started gathering stones and we stoned them up the road there. He came back with the police about an hour or two after it. There was no sign of a heron, not even a scale seen. We was cooking a heron on shuffles and any damn thing you would have had with a great big fire, you know.
Those young fellas had a good appetite then.
Oh, God's sake. Man, he was crunching at a heron and turning the other ones over in your shuffle. That was out of head for girdles.
I don't think there's anything nicer than a real fresh herring, freshly fried.
That used to be a favourite dish I was every year. As soon as ever we could get new potatoes in August, fresh herring and new potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was a treat.
Really good, wasn't it?
And you could buy a dozen for tuppence or thereabouts, you know. I've heard the women come around the bar on a Saturday night, you know, 6 a penny. Big herring, that size one. 6 a penny.
Oh, they're really wonderful when they're fresh. Freshly fried.
Yeah? Ah. Keepers, there was about 5 or 6 of them, you know, around the place. They get all around the country and they paid the kids school days off. And Saturdays and Sundays, you know, to gather peas and eggs. Well, a piece until lay as much as 24 or 25 eggs, you know. And then the gamekeepers, they went round all the housewives and they paid you half a crown for a brooding hen. And my mother would give them 1, 2 or 3 1 year. Well, they used the hen until the seasons were up and you got back the hen and your half crown too, you know. So, to prevent any loss of the hatch and the pheasants, they hatched all the eggs under as hens, you know. The little coops, no bottom of them, so they could move them, you know, on a fresh stance. And they had a field there, and man, 1 year they had a field of 12 acres oats. And when the oats was beginning to ripen, they cut roads here and there, and this and that way, you know. And the coops would sit down all along all these roads, you know. And the pheasants, as they grew up, they didn't know what the corn was about until they got a taste of it, you know. Very good. Boy, they trumped down that corn. You wouldn't have seen a standing stem there. And then, when the shooting started about September, the gamekeepers would start with blank shot, you know, and they would scare them, you know, going in about them and raising cane, you know, and blazing the guns off to scare the feet. Because, Lord, they get in them on your feet. And you was going around them, sure, there were stems. Ordinary chickens would run around your feet. But they scared them well up, though, and all the time of the pheasant rearing, they had to watch for hawks and one thing or another, you know. There was a patrol day and night, you know, around all this field. Well, they knew to a T just how many pheasants there was. So they would keep so many hens, you know, and so many cocks, you know. And they knew then how much you have. I'll let you the pheasant shooting, and I'll guarantee you maybe 2,000 or 3,000 pheasants, you know. So they were there, and it was up to you to get them, you see. That's how they did with the pheasants.
Well, how about getting one for yourself, Dad?
I'd have been hanged if I had been found out that I'd taken a pheasant home. Mighty God, boy. In the winter time of the year, there was a field of oats just across the road from my house, and when the snow was, it was a trapper that told me how to take them. He wasn't a gamekeeper, he was a trapper. He trapped all wild animals and rabbits and all this, you know, around the state, you know. And so I got some green peas and soaked them for a couple of nights in water. Got a needle and some white horse hair. White, you know, it had to be for the snow, you see. And he shoved the needle into the pea, and then you pulled the needle out and stuck this hair through. And you clipped it off about 1/2 inch or so on each side of the pea, you know. And after he had a few with him, I used to go around the stacks and lay them down, around the edge of the stacks. I forget that the summer you'd come into the house, the first one that I took. And, isn't there two running around the stacks there, and they're flapping their wings and going this way. And I knew what was up, so I got away out, and I got two of them in first offshot the first day. So I never went to the pheasant. And mother she would go out and see that hens was all in, And very, very commonly you'd have got a pheasant cockatoo sitting in the roost of one of the hens,
Well, they'd make pretty good eating. They'd be full of grain, wouldn't they?
Pretty good. Oh, God, yes. Oh, you could eat anything at that time of day.
Everybody had big appetites.
Dad, I always remember you telling me once about that lady, that one that had the thing over her face. What was the story on that?
I forget her name now.
She ran the mail, did she?
Yes, well, her husband carried the mail, and he died, and she'd nothing to live on, and she was a fairly able-bodied woman, Pretty husky woman she was, about 4 times a year. And she'd come around with the mail, and she always wore a woolen scarf across her face here, And us kids, we used to try and see if it was below the scarf, and mother always had a cup of tea ready for her, whether she'd mail or not. She always come in there, and she kept her own cup for her, And we would eat in at the windows, God, there was one day we got a sight of her face, and she'd no flesh around here. It was all, she could have poured the tea in here. It was all eat away,
Just like cancer.
Yeah, it was cancer. And there was one day, it used to get awful hot and sore, she said, and this morning, it was a dewy morning, and she plucked up just a good handful of this cold, dewy, sour grass, and put the grass onto it, and it eased it. And by Jove, it killed the cancer. And that rod, for months, God, you couldn't walk up and down. There was no motor cars at that time, but there was buggies and gigs, as we used to call them. And even great big 4-hand brakes come out, and they were all going with magnifying glasses looking for a certain wheeze, and they didn't know what they were looking for either. But I don't think it ever discovered anything. I told that to a doctor in the hospital whiles. I says, there is a cure for it, and it's grown a weed, because I know. And that woman, she got it all, this face left in her plastic surgery. Well, gee, man, she looked pretty good.
Whatever it was, they could never pinpoint it.
Oh, no, they could never. We used to just call it a eating cancer, Because there's a male and a female cancer, and the female doesn't eat. But the male cancer will eat you away. Eat the insides out of you here. No, they could never find what cured it, no. And it was just, she went and showed him practically the very spot where she got that grass.
Well, it must have been rather a rare weed, perhaps, and, well, it just goes to show you that there's nothing new under the sun, eh, Dad?
Oh, no. Oh, she was quite a hearty soul. She had quite a route, I guess she travelled about 8-9 miles every day.
On foot?
Yeah.
How old did she live?
Oh, she was about 40 anyway at that time. I don't know how long she went, but I never remember about hearing about her dying or nothing of that kind.
When we moved to Pedodri, I always remember I was out one year beating the...
No, you was out there minding about you beating the...
I think they gave me 2 and 6.
Yeah.
And,
did they give you a lunch?
Or something, or 2 grouse with it.
Oh.
But I was never up to the real beating part of it. I was just raising the game. But you used to go with a player, didn't you?
Well, we all the farm hands was mobilized for this day, you know. And I was put on with a pretty old fella, the late range, an old military man he was. And I had to carry a spare gun and load to him and carry his game, you know.
What did they shoot? Bullets, or was it?
Oh, it was small shot, you know.
Shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
All for grubs. Yeah.
But I could put in if you'd seen a deer or anything, I could put in a ball cartridge, you know, and do it. So, this day we were all coming down the hill, and we come down to what you would call the timberline, you know. And there's a dry ditch there, and a stone wall all about that height. On the top of this bank of the ditch, next to wood, like, when you're coming down, you could walk down into this ditch, you know, and scramble up and over a dike, you know. So I'm down in this ditch looking for an easy way for the old fella to get over, you know. And he shouts to me, look out, look out. And here's a deer coming down the hill. And she'd got scared with some of their guns, you know, further back. And she takes one spring just about over my head, near like that. And she intended to catch this, to jump this ditch in the stone wall too, you know, to clear the two of them, you know. And she hit the stone wall with her chest here, the front legs. And she come tumbling down in the ditch beside me, you know. And she scrambled up the bank again, and God, I grabbed the hind leg. And he is old, I forget his name. I forget his name now. But he says, hold it, bugger. He says, hold it. He says, hold it. Then I had to hold the deer's hind leg. He shot it in the back of the head. He killed the deer, all right. And the butler was telling me next day, he says, at the supper, you know, the laird, he put on quite a supper, you know, at the end of the hunt, and there was some boss with some guys in their bags, you know, what they'd got. And the laird then, she says, aye, but he says, there was none of you come up to me. He says, I'm the only man that got a deer. And Smithy with a funny singing way of talking, you know, comical kind of attacker he was. And he says, you know, he says, we all could have got a deer, you know, if we'd had a husky man to hold her. I held the deer until he shot her anyway. Then with George, I had to carry it home. Oh, it wasn't a big beast, you know. Well, now I got quite serious shoulders, and I got home with it all the same. I had this slung across both my shoulders here, and the front feet here, and hind here, you know. Well, there was some days, he spent a lot of money, that laird Aberdeen there, and him and the wife too. He would have some awful gatherings, you know. And
I always remember you telling me about the Laird of Tillycorthy. Didn't he make his money in Bolivia?
He got away out there, an immigrant, and when he landed there first, he worked a file in a copper mine. And my father knew him well. And he used to go with a circus a while when he was a young man, you know, too. Some of the help, you know, around the circus. And he emigrated away out there anyway, and he worked a while in this copper mines. And gee, he bought a lot of donkeys, or burros as they call them, you know. And he started a mail route over the Andes. Down into, I forget the name of the town or the city they brought the mail into, but he had quite a mail route, you know, all over there. And finally he bought an old disused mine. It was flooded to weather. And he bought some pumping out machinery and one thing or another, and they pumped it out. My God, he was hauling out the copper, boy.
Copper was a good place then.
And when he come home, Here, oh, there were several little towns, you know. He put an electric light for us down, you know. Look at, like a contour. No, he lighted all that town up. Made a big dam there outside contour for the power. And wired it all up for him. And there were several towns that did the same thing, you know. And it made me, there was games held at Tillicor there. He'd a little devil there, oh, quite an awful, a girlish appearance about him, you know. And he was his chauffeur, you know, and him and that Whitey, they called him. Him and that Whitey used to fight like devils, you know. The laird, and so there was a girl's fancy dress bicycle race on one day, you know. At some of the gatherings, he'd some awful gatherings around this place too, you know. He just at the back out in his station. And, my God, Whitey got the first prize is the most fancy dressed girl, you know. And somebody told the lad lit the powder out, and he was after Whitey with a stick in his hand. He was going to beat the dirt out of him.
Well, those the days of the big wheel bicycles or the little.
Oh no, they had the safety bicycles with the cushion tires.
Oh, cushion.
No tube in them or nothing. Just a cushion. Just like a water pipe.
Oh.
That was all they had.
That fellow you were talking about there, what was his name? Who was it?
Duncan McCoy, at Tillicor.
He was like the laird, right?
Yeah?
He was the laird, right?
Yes, he bought that estate, you know. And, oh Lord, he rebuilt the whole place and built houses for all his workmen around it. And
yeah, I seem to remember you telling me once that he didn't like the entrance to the house or something, and he put a place right through the place to get his car.
oh yes, he was going to. When he died, you know, he had a big supply of water there about his estate, and he was making a circular route to it, and he was about halfway starting the station, and he had a little canal dug, you know, and he could put a outboard motor with it. Well, there wasn't so many of them ago at that time, you know.
It's like an inboard.
Yeah, but he had a motorboat anyway. Instead of driving with the car around the roads to the station, he would get down through his own property in that little canal, you know, and circle round and come back. The water circled all around and come right back again. But he died before it was finished. And I don't know if ever they finished it. Oh, I don't believe that. His wife and his wife's father and mother lived with him. There was always rows, you know, mighty you could hear the laird and the old wife there swearing at one another, you know, and the wife, his own wife was quite a brick, you know. But too, he used to call her the tiger.
Well, what was his official title?
He just, W.E. Duncan, I think it was, Tillicor, that was all. He had no title in no time,
He was
no.
a laird.
Well, he was a laird, of course. Oh, yes. But, oh, man, he did a lot of good around the countryside there, you know. Yes, he got into until of course I was for sale. Oh, it's quite a size of a estate. It takes on farms in Cootercullen right over onto the Allan Turnpike.
Yeah, 1,000 acres.
I said, no way back. And it was sold by Junction at some lawyer's office in Aberdeen. And Duncan had been in a hurry one day, and he thought he would go in and put in his bid, you know. He'd just get bouncing in him when everybody was sitting there, you know. And bouncing in, and he says, I don't know what it'll sell for, but he gave him his bid anyway, and he says, if it's more, he says, I've got to have it anyway. So that finished Junction. That's how we bought it. Oh, Whitey and Ham would go out and would sit down and play cards in their car, you know. And they would fight about it, and oh, God's sake, this was his chauffeur.
Well, what would a man like that do? What would his business be with that?
Well, he still had still the copper was going on, you know. Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, the average laird, wouldn't he have another business besides being the laird of an estate or something?
Well, not very many of them. Some of them had nothing but just two. Maybe had money well invested here and there and that, you know. But this Duncan, he had quite a business because he was running all over the country once, you know. That copper in order, they're giving a good price about that time of day, you know.
But what time would that be?
Oh, it would have been about... Oh, yeah.
Well, the first one.
Oh, yes.
That was when I was small, about 1910, man.
It would be about... when we was at Nabarna, he was at the top of his glory then, you know. That would have been about 1909 or 1910, or thereabout.
Well, he was a Scottish counterpart of Sir Henry Fellows.
Oh, yeah.
He made money and he spent it.
Yeah. Oh, God, he was spending money like...
Spend money all the time.
Sure.
The things over there, it'd be hard to come by. It's hard to spend.
The kids, you know, the kids all knew him. You'd go past the school about recess time and he would stop the car and the kids was all around him, you know, and he'd always a pocket full of copper or some damn thing or another, you know, and he would scatter them with the kids there, just getting fun with the kids, fighting and chasing to pick it up. Then he had a prize for the one that got the most. And he was not a proud fellow. He would stand up and talk to anybody, you know.
Democrat. Well, he was a Democrat just like Smith of Cadorby was.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He was quite a Democrat, too.
I mean, he come touring around past Snapping one day, and Stuart, he brought him down to the steading to see the black cattle, you know. With a lot of fine fat cattle too, ready for the fat shows. And he was awful thin up with them. And the sale was he bought the stock bull and a few cows, you know.
Well, I've never seen so good cattle as what I did see at the Pataudry. I believe that they exported a lot of them to the southern man.
Well, he was very particular with the breed that he got, you know. I remember he was away about like that was quite a bit for nothing, you know. Get away out over the hill and through Tarvis and right on that way to Metlick. And back in his car or something. Hello!
How you doing?
Yeah, well, that's good enough for today.
That's fine.
That's very good, Dad.
And there you have it. Well, wasn't that interesting? Wasn't that wonderful? As I say, it might benefit from being listened to a few more times to get that Scottish brogue into your head so you can understand it. I'm now capable of understanding every word myself, so it bears some repeating. Until next time, this is Dave Penny signing off.